Test, test. 1, 2, 1, 2. Getting into it, getting into the day. I'm going to give it a few minutes for people to arrive. We'll see who's awake or living in this part of the world. Again, these live streams are a bit of an experiment at this point. We're still experimenting. This whole week has been mucho experimentation. But today we are going to talk about some yogic teachings around the path of motivation. I think we are starting to recognize that it isn't just about having a sense of direction in life, but the motivation to fulfill that direction, to fulfill any type of, mission that we feel that we are on. So let's just see here. I've got this lovely art found a couple hours north of Bangkok on a road trip at some, thrifty find shop. Okay. So I will just begin because likely this will go into a replay and we'll see, who shows up in the meantime. So I was thinking a bit about motivation and desire, actually. And desire is kind of this it's this very interesting topic in the world of spirituality because desire, I think the short version, really, like the Cliff Notes version, is that desire creates this sense of attachment. And the whole point, or a point, right, of a true spiritual practice and spiritual journey is how to let go of attachment, how to not be attached to our desires. Welcome to the chat. If you want to let me know where you're coming in from, I would appreciate it. Many blessings to you. So we're talking about motivation, we're talking about desire, and this is coming from a yogic perspective. Good morning. Good morning and welcome. Please let me know where you are coming from in the chat or just say hello. I would love to know if you're here. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. We are going to talk about motivation and desire from a spiritual perspective. So if you have anything to also add, like your own relationship to this topic, I would love to hear from you. Good morning, good evening, many, many blessings. So I was thinking about motivation, right? And basically how desire can help to motivate us. And the issue with desire, when we get into different spiritual practices, is that desire creates a sense of attachment, right? We start to really cling to the things that we like. We start to cling to, the goal, if you will. And what I've learned from purely a yogic path, a yogic practice, is that clinging and that attachment can create a lot of pain and a lot of suffering. And I think that is also in the Buddhist teachings as well, and probably other, spiritual paths, right? That which we are attached to, it creates a lot of pain and a lot of suffering when we are forced to detach from it. So I think the biggest, right, most painful is the loss of a loved one, whether that is a permanent loss or the loss of the relationship. That is just such a devastating portal that one will very likely travel through on this very human journey. So, right, that pain brings a lot of awareness of how we are attached to that. So I'm thinking about my own practices and my own path of how do I keep myself motivated? And there are certain moments in the practice, and I'm talking about, constantly showing up to meditation, showing up to my prayers, showing up to yoga. And there is this like very specific formula when you're on a yogic path where in the beginning, and this is like any relationship, right? In the beginning, it is just like so romantic, it's so inspiring, it's so we're motivated. We want to be there because the energy is so palpable, and what we are putting into it, we are getting something back. Hi and welcome. If you want to say hello in the chat, I would love to hear from you. And we're talking about motivation on the spiritual path today. You can let me know where you are coming in from. So, in the beginning of any relationship, your practice is just like a relationship. It's a deep, powerful romance, and you're in love with it. You're getting so much from it. You're inspired. You have that little like skip in your step through life. And, all of those magical things are happening, even if you're entering into a spiritual practice from a place where you are a bit devastated in life, right? Because it can feel good to take refuge, to come into the refuge. Welcome back. Welcome back. Good to have you here. And that's ultimately what a spiritual practice, a spiritual path should be, is a place of refuge, right? We feel a sense of support, we feel a sense of safety, and ultimately we are there to reconnect with the self. And so what happens, like any relationship, right? You start off with this like amour and love and beauty and comfort and all of these things. And then the excitement starts to wear off, and it starts to get a little bit like plateaued, a little bit flatlined, right? You've gone through kind of the big first shifts. Not that there won't be, thank you, please. Thank you for liking and subscribing. I really appreciate it. Kapkonka. Hello, hello, and welcome. So, in the beginning of your practice, right, in the beginning of your refuge, usually you go through, right, these very powerful moments in time in your process. The same way you go through those very powerful moments of connection with another human being, if you are in a romance, falling in love type of situation, right? Or even you get a new job, right? Or you move to a new place and like everything is kind of exciting because everything is bubbling to the surface. And then you hit that point in your journey where you just start to plateau and everything is flat. And so for a yogi and a meditator, the recommendation is like you show up. And that is really the definition of discipline, is that you show up even when the thrill has worn off, right? Even when it's not exciting, right? And I can tell you from my journey of practicing for over 20 years, there's definitely many moments where it is not exciting, where I'm just like, I don't want to practice. I don't want to go to my mat. I don't want to move, right? Like the motivation isn't there, even though my higher self knows that if I practice, I will feel better. I should do this. So, how to then keep to that discipline and how to keep to what we call tapas or tapasaya, which is from the Yoga Sutras, which is this practice of purification, right? Knowing that I have to constantly purify the system, the body, the mind, right? I have to sit with myself. I have to confront myself daily. I have to sit with that sacred fire within so that I can see a little more clearly. And how do I get to that fire? How do I get to that tapas if like I'm not motivated? And I think that this is where desire to a certain degree is very helpful in the beginning phases of your practice when you maybe don't consider yourself to be a super spiritual person. So, how I will kind of compare, like, am I a spiritual person? Am I not? So, for me, in my kind of makeup, it's very easy for me to pray to the divine, to connect to some type of energy, however that makes sense for you. This like, how do I connect with the thing that is bigger than me? How do I bow to something that is greater than myself? And I would say somebody who doesn't consider themselves to be super spiritual, maybe they don't have as strong of a connection to like quote unquote God. And maybe that's even a little bit triggering, right? All of that could be very triggering, like prayer is triggering, praying to God is triggering. What God are you talking about? Like there's a lot of religious hangups that start to come into the conversation. And spirituality for me, and yoga practice specifically, hello and welcome. Please say hello in the chat. I would love to know where you're coming from if you haven't already. Spirituality, yoga, specifically, you have to think of that yoga and meditation are a science versus a religion versus some type of dogma. There is like cause and effect for sure, and there are some pretty strict recommendations for a yogic path, but it's not separate like religions are separate, and you have to go in a very specific way if you are going to be Muslim, and you have to go in a very specific way if you're Buddhist, and a very specific way if you're Christian. You can be a yogi, you can be a meditator, and you can have whatever religion you whatever religion you follow is what you follow, and that's fine. You can have your belief system. Okay, Ka, come back when you're able to. Thank you. So this sense of desire, right? Like, what is desire? Desire is gravitating towards something that we don't have, that we want to have. So in a sense, that thing that we want to call in, or that thing that we want to get closer to, whether it is a physical thing that we want to hold, or it is an experiential thing that we want to connect with. So if we want to get closer to that thing, you can kind of start to sense that it is something that is outside of your own self. And not to diminish my own self, but perhaps it is greater than my own self. Perhaps we can kind of start to look at it from that place. And because it is greater, right? Because I adore it, because I desire it, I want to feed off of it, I want to move towards it. Like that's motivation, right? I want to step towards it. So it's calling me, and I am following the steps to get to the thing. Now, I always advocate when you are newer to your process. Sorry for any noise. There's, some traffic, some big trucks coming in and out of the station today. Like if you don't connect to God, or if that is very triggering, like what is the thing that motivates, like what is the thing that inspires you? In the first years of my yogic practice, and even sometimes today, it's art, it's music, it's the music that is like singing my moment, the way that music can do that. Music can just be so cathartic. A band can be super brilliant, a composer, an artist, where you're just like, wow, so blown away by them. And it doesn't have to be an artist. It could be anyone that is not you, right, necessarily, and you feel really inspired by them. You feel really inspired, and you feel inspired by their energy, and you feel inspired by their path and power of creation and what they are perhaps contributing, right? That's like one way to kind of get into it. And, we would always be urged to dedicate our practice. dedicate your practice, right? Come into the practice, dedicate, align. And for many years when I was in my 20s, that like dedication was towards those artists that were motivating me at the time. It wasn't towards God, it wasn't towards, any higher situation, but I held those artists in that kind of elevated state where like, wow, like imagine being in the presence of them, right? Like, okay, imagine giving to them in the way that I have received from them. So it's a little bit of like a trick of the mind. And we do, in a certain sense, right? You can't just beat yourself up and be like, you have to do this, go and do this. You've got to do it. It's good for you. Do it. Go to the gym, go to your yoga mat, do the thing, da 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 da. You can have a stern inner voice to tell yourself and to direct yourself. But what is more pleasurable is connecting with that desire, right? I desire to be in the energy field of whatever this person is creating, right? So this artist is creating something and I desire that feeling, right? That connection. It makes me feel like so seen or loved or beautiful, like this, right? Like whatever it is for you. And I can use that as like an energetic pull, a vibrational pull to get me to the spaces that are ultimately going to benefit me. And as I moved through the different layers and the different levels of yogic practice and, human evolution, then it starts to come away from, something that is just kind of like here in the world and something that is like greater than, right? And that's where I can really connect to the divine. I can really start to connect to my own personal prayers, my own personal antenna, right, to the heavens, to the gods, whatever that, means exactly. And it's deeply personal for each of us, especially those of us that were not brought up in a spiritual system, where I think that probably for friends of mine that are here in Thailand, that are from Thailand, and you're brought up, meditating as a child in school, at least that's how, one of my friends explained it, having to go through these practices. And it just creates, well, it definitely creates a very compassionate human being and a very like patient person for sure, very mindful. And also, I think that there's like a possibility, right, to connect with the Buddha, to connect with the ancient teachings, to connect with all of that. And that in itself can be the thing that motivates you because you know that it is good to connect to those things. Now, there are times when, you might get inspired by the desire, like what is the desire to be in like romance with another human or to connect to a human, right? That like we're seeing that person online and right, it's their energy field, right, is what it is. And so then it's like use that energy field, even if it's kind of like ridiculous, right? Like you fall in love with someone online that that, you're never really going to meet them, but whatever they're saying or whatever they look like, whatever they're embodying is like stirring something in you. I definitely go through this, right? I'm like, wow, like, whether it is like a physical attraction or just like energetic attraction, like whatever it is, it's waking something up inside of me. And it's like a signal. I want to get closer to whatever that energy is. And for me to get closer to anything in life, it's going to be through my practices. Whether that is like a gym discipline because I want to like look a certain way, I want to like impress this person, or it is like organizing my administrative mind and I need to sit down and do pranayama and do asana and move the body and do mantra and like really start to organize myself because I'm really attracted to the thing that they are projecting. Therefore, that thing that they are projecting also lives within me. Right? It lives within me. So this is where the non-attachment comes in. If I see someone and I'm like, oh, it's really resonating with me. I'm like really feeling stirred up and like, whoo, okay, what is this? All right, I'm going to go in some direction, right? On my yoga mat to like practice and work with this. But I'm not attached to like, in the context of this, like being a person, I'm not attached to like meeting them, right? Like I have an awareness. I'm not putting myself into some like obsessive, what's some good like obsession movies? I don't know. But like, obsessing over someone and then like you're getting attached to it, or like even money, right? Like money can be deeply motivating, right? Like I want a better business. I want, to elevate myself and move into a new way with that as well, right? It's not necessarily about like attaching. You can have that number in mind, right? Like, okay, I want to make like whatever it is, I'm gonna make $20,000 a month. I'm gonna make 20K a month. Okay. So that's like my goal, that's my number. But within the process, it's like you don't get attached to the number. You're aligning with the feeling of that number, right? You're aligning with whatever that number came to you, right? Because you saw someone or you saw something and they projected that energetically towards you, and your signal started to pick it up and say yes. Like this is the direction that I want to go in. Well, how do I have to get there? I've got to move things. I've got to work. I've got to show up in order to do it. So now there is a wave of inspiration to now pull me into my yoga mat. And I can bow to that. Okay, I'm going to bow to the potential of getting, a lot of money, right? And maybe for a while that works for you to see the results of your practice. And that's the main thing. It isn't about the money. You'll get the money eventually in whatever way it's supposed to come to you, right? Like if you are following the steps, like it will happen. But we need that practice to be the foundation. Again, whatever that practice is, and I'm talking purely about yogic practices, meditative practices, mantra practices, breath practices, because for me, that is the thing that has worked the best for me my entire life, half of my life. And, to be able to be here in the space that I am now, like, it's amazing. And that's all from consistent practice and battling with like, oh, I don't want to show up. I don't want to do it, and seeing how that can drain me and demotivate me and debilitate me. And like, okay, I need to get myself back in, but I'm lacking that motivation. And then lo and behold, someone comes in. I'm like, ooh, what's that? Okay, I need to like get to that. I want to get to like whatever that is. How do I do it? It's not going to all come just from thinking. It's not going to all come just from, yes, like you need to put your life together. You need to administrate your life. But the thing that we don't always recognize is that we need the energy to be able to organize it. Right? So you can think it and you can see all of the steps. Okay, I'm going to build my business. I got to do the website. I've got to do social media. I've got to do this. I've got to hire this. I've got to look at my budget, blah, 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 buy this, blah, 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 right? Like that's administration. And what helps us to administrate is energy. And what brings energy in the system, breath, body. What helps us administrate meditation, like meditating, practicing using the mind in different ways. So you have silent meditation, you have Vipassana meditation, you have Kundalini style meditations, you have mantra meditation. You can think about all of those different forms of meditation are like different weights that you use at the gym, right? For the different definition of the muscle, right? All of that, like you're getting more defined in your mental body and your mind. And, in order to get there, you need some desire, right? You need some, most of us, right? Maybe not all. There are definitely like people that are like, beautiful robots that can just like plug up and do everything and be consistent, and there's never a struggle, which is like, wow, incredible. And for some of us, like, we need that alignment. So you have tapas in the practice, you have the heat, and you have svadhyaya, which is the study of the self. So it is essentially the part of you that is witnessing the desire, right? Like, oh, this is like turning me on, like, meaning like I'm getting lit up by this thing, by this human, by this artwork, by this like potential that I'm seeing, right? Okay, I'm getting lit up by this. Like, what is this? Why is this energy field like lighting me up? Why is this? What is this? And that is like studying the self to try to understand, oh, I want to be in this energy field. I want to be, prosperous. I want to be creative. I want to be expressing myself. I want to be healthy. I want to look better. I want, to feel beautiful. I want to feel radiant. I want to articulate the way that this person articulates. I want that. I desire that. Now, that thing and the way that that person does it and the way that that person lives is not necessarily how I need to live, right? And that's where the attachment comes in. It's not that I need to get a villa and I need to ride this bike and I need to get this luxury handbag and I need to do this and do that and like, materialize myself. It's not about that. It's an energetic frequency. It's an energetic frequency that is lighting us up. Okay, I'm lit up. I see that. How do I get myself to that? You need the energy to get yourself to that. And you need, right, the like deep bowing and reverence to that which brings you the energy, which for me as a yogi is the yogic practice, which is bowing to that which is greater than myself. Ishvari pranidhana. Ishvara pranidhana, right? It's the bowing of the divine, and it's the, okay, I surrender the fruits of my practice. I just did 90-minute yoga practice, and I'm not going to be attached to any of this. I am going to let it flow and allow the things to come to me that are meant to come to me. And beautiful things are going to come to me, and I'm not going to attach myself to it. I'm going to allow it to flow because I understand as a yogi that we all go through seasons and cycles of life. Seasons and cycles of life. So you can't be attached to your garden. You can tend to the garden and you can receive the bounty of the garden, but winter will come. Right? And there will be moments where the dirt is like not as healthy and you've got to give it time for it to mature and for all those nutrients to come in. And, the metaphors are endless here, right? The trees have leaves, the trees don't have leaves. So we're all going through these different seasons. Even here in Thailand, I can feel the different seasons. Even though it mysteriously looks like one season, it is not. Like there's definitely a flow to it. So find the thing that is turning you on, right? And I just mean lighting you up. I don't mean that in like a super, like sexual way, but like, what is it that is like bringing me some light? What is that? Who is that? Is it somebody out here on the internet? Fine. Lean into it. Lean into what their energy is and use it as inspiration. Like follow the desire gently to get to your mat, to get to your yogic practice, to get to the gym, if that's what it is, to walk and move your body every day. Like get closer to that. Feel yourself getting closer to that. And at a certain moment, especially if you're doing yogic practices, it's going to shift and it's going to become a bit deeper than just like chasing that human being or that kind of tangible, earthly sort of thing. It's going to become more than that because you will open. You are more than that. So this is just like tricks. Just the trick of the mind, the trick of the body, the trick of it all. So we are going to leave it here. We're at about 30 minutes. I thank you for being here. Thank you so much for your comments. Feel free to ask any questions once this feed is posted online if you want to circle back. And I would be happy to answer your questions in the future. You can practice with me online. So I have a lot of practices up, recorded, pre recorded, and live streamed. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for your likes. Sending you a lot of love and many, many blessings. Thank you. Have a beautiful day, beautiful evening.